Write your name and class code on your piece of paper. Then turn it over so your name is on the back. You're going to get a card that has a leaf image on it. This card has one side with a raised surface and one side with a lowered surface. This is called a relief stamp. A relief stamp has a raised surface and a lowered surface. We are going to paint on the side that has a letter P. This means paint. We want to make sure to paint on our raised surface side, so when we stamp, our image is there. Let's get ready to paint. Using your paintbrush I've given you, dip it into the white paint. Make sure that you are painting on the side with the letter P for your leaf. We're going to paint over those raised lines of our leaf, making sure to spread the paint all over those lines. We don't need to cover the whole card, just the leaf. You're going to notice that I am moving my paintbrush up and down and side to side. This way I can make sure I get all of the spaces for my leaf. I don't want to have a lot of paint on there, but I want to make sure that the paint I have is smoothed over. I need to work quickly because if my paint dries and I go to stamp, nothing's going to happen. After I finish moving the paint around, I'm ready to stamp. This first stamp is going to tell me if I have too much paint, too little, or if I worked too slow. Let's stamp. You're going to flip it over and press down on your yellow card, or red, or blue. And you're going to make sure that you're not rubbing across the card, just pressing down. If you rub, the card could move. So we want to make sure that we're just pressing down on all of those lines. When you're done, lift it off. And there is your first leaf. We're going to do this 2 more times. So we're going to have a total of 3 leaves. Now that I've printed my leaf, I'm going to print it 2 more times. I'm going to repeat that same process, painting on my card the side with the P, making sure my paint is spread around and not too much or not too little. I need to work quickly. I'm going to print my leaf 2 more times, making sure that they don't overlap. It's okay if they go off the edge of the paper, but you need to have a total of 3. Now that I've printed my leaves 3 times, I'm ready to start painting in between the leaves. I'm going to begin painting using my primary colors. Here I've started with the color yellow. My other 2 primary colors are red and blue, but we'll do those in a second. When I color with yellow, yellow is a lighter color, and since I'm painting on black paper, I need to make sure that I layer my paint. So I'm painting my space that I want to be yellow, and I'm making sure that I'm moving the paint around. It's okay if it's a little thick, but I don't want to have big blobs of paint. But I want to make sure I go over that yellow a couple of times so it looks yellow instead of green. When I'm finished painting my yellow, I'm going to take my paintbrush and dip it into my water cup. And I'm going to rub my bristles gently on the bottom of my water cup, making sure to rinse off all of that yellow paint. After that, I'm going to dry off my yellow paintbrush so that it's nice and clean, so I'm ready for the next color. Now that I've finished with yellow, I'm ready to start painting with red. Red is my secondary color. Now that my brush is clean, I'm going to add red paint around my leaves in another section. It's okay if I overlap a little bit on the yellow, but I want to try to paint the red only in a space that doesn't have any paint yet. Just like we did with the yellow, we're going to layer our red paint so we have a nice bright red color. Remember to try not to paint over the leaves, we're painting around them. If you did end up with a little bit of white paint outside your leaf, maybe from the side of your card, you're welcome to paint over that space that was white. But you want to make sure that you're trying to stay outside of the leaves. Now that my paintbrush is clean, I'm ready to begin painting the last section of my background with blue paint. This is my 3rd and final primary color, and I'm going to paint it just like I did my yellow and my red. I'm going to make sure that I'm layering my color so I have a nice bright blue. If I end up going over a little of the yellow or the red, that's okay. But I want to try to make sure to go around the leaves and paint a nice bright blue color. When I'm finished, I'm going to rinse off my paintbrush in my water cup and dry off my wet bristles. Now that I've finished painting my primary colors, I'm going to go back in with my secondary colors. My secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. And I'm going to paint small sections where they should go. For instance, if I'm painting with orange, I need to make sure my orange is only in the spaces where my red paint and my yellow paint meet. And I'm going to paint over them just a little. Notice here that I'm doing the same thing with my purple paint. I've rinsed off my brush and I'm ready to paint with purple. My purple should only go where red and blue overlap. Be sure in between each of your secondary colors to rinse off your paintbrush and dry off your bristles. We don't want to add any water to our paint. For green, I'm only going to paint those spaces where where blue and yellow meet. When you're finished, you'll have a picture with 3 printed leaves and your background is completely filled in with color. You'll have all 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, and the spaces where they meet, you'll have the secondary colors that go with them, orange, purple, and green.